All right, welcome back. This is First Gen Wealth Podcast, episode 9. We're going to jump right into it. I got my brother here as usual. Jim, thanks for being here. Making the big long trip across the block.
Have to go all the way around.
That's a long trip. Whole 3 seconds. So we've been kind of knee deep in some of the shit that goes on with real estate, the dark side, the bitching that you hear, some of the negative stuff that you can expect, the risks, the pitfalls, all of those things. And I'm sick of that. So let's talk about some of the awesome things. All right. And one thing I'd like to talk about is something that's happening for me this week, which is one of the benefits in owning real estate that I found to be probably my favorite. And that's refi cash out.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So this is a situation where obviously, been at this for a while. But I've got a building down south end of the state with a partner. We bought it, I would say, very right. I think we got a very good deal on it when we bought it. We did some work. We put a good tenant in there. They did some work, and so now we're doing a refi on that, and we're pulling out about $600 and some thousand that we're going to split between the two of us. So the beauty with that is, we're going to have debt on that, which is a little higher now, but we're still in really good shape. Tenant's paying that, right? So we're still actually, having the tenant buy down that equity and making money on a monthly basis and putting a big chunk in both of our pockets, tax-free.
Yeah. Tax-free is the biggest thing. And I don't think people realize the power of that.
Dude, that's real. That's not 300,000 and then, minus taxes. Yeah, you're right. It's huge because it's a loan. It's a loan, and you don't pay taxes on borrowed money. And so when you have assets that are performing and, you can have them appraised for more than you've got into them, you can pull equity out to use for other things tax-free. And this is a case that these are my favorite days.
Yeah.
It's actually,
it's my favorite day too, because you typically owe me some of that.
Oh, I shouldn't have said anything. Yep. Yeah. Well, that's part of the business. You always owe somebody. So, you got this going on, but no, it's wonderful because, this is a thing that is like a side benefit from owning this real estate. Cause now as we put the new debt on it, that'll, we've got interest we're going to write off. We've got the depreciation that continues to be written off. It closes the gap on how much monthly income, how much cash flow we're going to get because we're taking,
right.
We're like
the spread's not as big,
but yeah, cause we're basically getting a cash advance on that. Mm-hmm. But then it's happening. So you go 5 years from now, you can literally do that again. Yeah. Right. Cause it'll be the equity will be there and you can do that again. And I've done it twice this year on large assets where we've done refis, and I've got another one coming up in January.
And the other side benefit of that, there's tax advantages of carrying debt on that property because you have a bigger interest expense. So you're getting that money tax free, and long term you're minimizing your future taxes.
Yeah, that building actually the way that we've got it structured, will be a tax loss next year. We'll be pulling income, but because of the interest and the depreciation, it'll get written down to the point where we won't pay taxes on that income next year either.
So what would your thoughts be to say like the rich get richer? Because obviously, you're doing this, but like Donald Trump, any real estate tycoon, Robert Kiyosaki, they brag about, well, I don't pay taxes because I invest in real estate and it's the smart thing to do. They're not doing anything shady. They're just taking advantage of the tax code that exists for whatever reason. So, what's your counter argument to, the rich get richer, or like, even, it doesn't even have to be real estate. Cause like Elon Musk will do this where he'll borrow money against his Tesla stock because it makes way more sense to pay 6%, 8%, whatever interest it is on that money tax free then pay capital gains rates or whatever the ordinary income rate would be to sell that stock.
Yep.
So you're just taking advantage of the tax code in a very smart and strategic way.
Yeah. And it just comes down to, you got to get started. This has been a journey. I actually met with somebody this morning. You remember when we had an episode on the season 1 where it kind of had a call for action for people to reach out.
Yeah.
And we are going to give them assignment.
I remember that. Yeah.
And a guy did. And then I forgot who it was. And then he commented on a Facebook post. And I was like, oh, that's the guy. So I reached out to him and he was here this morning and we went over all his stuff. And he's low 30s.
Yeah.
Has a great W-2 income, wants to get going in something. And I said, I'm looking at, he did a fantastic job of putting together his family budget and all his debts and everything. I mean, he was very open book with me and I appreciated that. And we went through it and I was like, this is eerily similar to what I looked like 15 years ago. So I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
Like you've got so he had 45,000-ish of debt, right? That he's paying monthly payments on like 5 or 6 different things. And I'm like, this all equals $900 a month that you're paying. So we kind of went over how you can wipe that out and start putting it aside. So I'm like, dude, you're day 1 of a 15-year plan and he's got young children. I mean, it's perfect. So, the idea, the rich get richer. Yep. 100%. They worked for it. And they got to get there. They had to start. So you're day 1 now on your journey. And as you build a business, build a real estate portfolio, it's the 10, 11, 12 years from now, it gets really awesome.
Yeah.
And the doors that open because you've got a portfolio of and a history of operating. I mean, it's like you and I've got an opportunity that we can take advantage next year that they came to us.
Yeah. I can't wait until that comes out.
Yeah,
But so you said, so this guy's where you were at 15 years ago. So fast forward for him 15 years later, refinancing a property, pulling $300,000 out was your share. So this similar situation, I just helped somebody buy a home on land contract for like 60 or 70,000. I don't remember what the exact price was. It needed some work. So they did some work and they just refinanced through us and pulled out 110,000. It's a similar thing, but at a much smaller scale.
Yep.
And that when you hear $300,000 for our average listener, that's a lot of money that you're pulling out, but you started with somewhere. And for these people, it was just a really small flip, 70,000 acquisition. They put in 20K or whatever it was. And then they just pulled out 110 because now they want to pay themselves back for the repairs and then use the extra money to go out and buy another property. Mm-hmm. So you have to start somewhere. And so when you start thinking of, 600,000, 300,000, whatever $1 million property that was, that's not where you're starting. You can start super small. Like you said, you're on day 1 of your 15-year plan.
Yep.
And now that debt starts getting paid off, you can start leveraging those assets again, or take advantage of the significant cash flow you're going to have.
Dude, in that you had mentioned it a couple episodes about how, and we didn't really get into it. And I want to get into it. How, when it turns, and what I'm saying is, when they start having all the equity, there's no debt, right? I looked at, I'm just going to share it. I don't care. Think what you want, people. I don't care. We're paying $1.3 million a year in mortgage payments right now. My portfolio, my real estate portfolio.
1.3 a year. That's a lot of money.
$1.3 million per year.
You might have me buy
it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but I'm not writing that check. That's, those are separate. It's a 30 some 20, 28, 32 something properties.
Yeah.
That all have tenants and they're all separate companies, separate entities. I mean, we got a file cabinet full of checks for checking accounts and those tenants pay. And then those leases or those mortgages get paid through those businesses. I don't sit here and write
right.
whatever.
You're not personally writing those checks.
So it's 100, what is that? 100,000, 110,000 a month in mortgage payments, right? 1.3 million.
Yeah.
So, that, like I said, 14, 15 years ago, that number was 0. It was my house.
Yeah.
Which was, nothing, right? It was a small little house. But today it's ballooned and we're down, in year 14, 15. And as I get to 16, 17, year 18, year 19, year 20, and those are all gone, that 1.3 million is income.
Right. Yeah.
That's massive.
That's where you say when it flips, it like flips in a significant way.
You're talking 100,000 plus in income that you weren't getting before.
So that's where would you at that point, let's just say, you start to get some of this debt either dwindled down or let's say it's paid off. Is that where you would then potentially leverage that money again or property because you want to take that money tax free at that point? Or
it feels like the right thing to do, right? So having it paid off, let's look at, I've got an asset that's probably worth $2.5 million over in Durand. All right. So that mortgage is $9,000 a month. So that's a pretty significant amount of money. But if I get it paid off, the $9,000 a month isn't going to be able to like you said, that you can't do anything big with that.
Right.
I mean, a lot of shit's paid for by that asset now, right? But if I were to get it paid down to maybe there's only a couple $100,000 or $500,000 left on the debt, and there's another opportunity over here, and I can pull $1 million in cash tax free, because if I suddenly get that $9,000 a month, that's going to be taxable.
Right. Yeah. Tax different. Yeah.
Whereas
passive income, but it's still you're paying taxes on it.
Yep. But if I were to just let's re-up. Tenants are still strong. We've got good leases. Things are going good. The building's in good shape. We don't have any capital needs, right? Any capital expenditures needs. Let's put a new mortgage on it, pull out $1 million flipping dollars tax free that we can now, I don't know, go buy a $4 million or a $3 million
Well,
asset.
the risk is, you're saying the benefit is, yes, you're pulling it out tax free. The risk is now you have debt on that property. So if property values plummet or we run into a recession or depression or that's the risk that you encounter with that.
Which is why you've got to be so strategic about what you're buying to begin with. So, number one, we're not overbuilt. And this is a retail strip mall. So we're not overbuilt in that category. We're probably underbuilt because we're underbuilt on housing, right? So, for me, it's like, I don't see, unless something crazy happens, but then it would just be a different decision at that time. But I'm strategic about where we buy. Like I want a good asset in a good area, not the best area, because then it's too expensive. And then you're dependent on high dollar rents. I like to be dependent on low rents.
Well, when you buy this particular, in general, there's not a lot of $2.5 million properties in Durand. So
Correct.
You bought it, I wouldn't say distressed because the property was in good shape, but you bought it where
half of it was vacant.
Yeah, it was high vacancy.
Yeah, well, the grocery store was vacant, and it took us a couple years to find that tenant. So, it's what is it, 70,000 square feet, and 35,000 of it was a grocery store. So half of it was technically vacant.
There was some other vacancies too, I think, wasn't there?
But now there's none.
Yeah.
So you've got to be active in pursuing tenants and things of that nature. But we didn't get ourselves into a position where we needed super high rents, just average market rents, or some even are below still because they were in leases that were long-term. But it's just strategizing and buying right and getting yourself into a situation that if somebody does leave, you're not beholden to some high dollar rent. Like in the case in point would be that Starbucks situation, right? I built that building down on the East End, and it's like high rent. And I'm like, if they leave, I ain't ever going to get that dollar amount again. So we sold it, right? It was worth to me the most the day it opened.
Yeah.
And so that we didn't keep that.
Yeah.
But, we'll see if that was the right thing to do or not. But, I just didn't see it. Like if they closed after 5 years, they probably won't. They do pretty good. But,
you think so? And I've heard a saying that you can't go broke making money.
you say this to me all the time. You can't go broke taking a profit.
Yeah, you can't go broke making money.
Yeah.
Or taking a profit. So if you sold it and you did okay with it, no matter how little or small, big it was,
yep.
Can't go broke making a profit.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
I mean, was it the right decision 10 years down the road? Who knows? But who cares? Like, you've moved on, and that allowed, making that decision at that point in time allowed you to do other things that maybe wouldn't have been done if you held on to it. So I always look at it as like, man, if I would have just held on to that stock, or if I would have, kept that property in Detroit, that we bought when the market was down, if we still own that today, what that would mean for us. Like, no, because we took a profit and we did something cool with it. We built apartments above Radio Shack. So so you can't go broke making a profit. So
take some money out. It's a pile of money. It might not be a huge pile of money, but it's a pile of money. Can't go broke taking a profit. That's right. And I do say, you just make the decision with the information that you have in that moment in time, and you got to move on. I do the same thing though with stocks. It's like, son of a shoulda.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you know how much Bitcoin I had in 2017?
Yeah.
And Ethereum I had in 2017?
Whatever.
Yep. I made a profit on it. Can't look back. But just to kind of like understand like the lifestyle that this business can lead to. And I'm not there yet by any means. Like, there meaning where I want to be. And as we know from that's going to change. But what I want to do is be able to, have everything on autopilot, all managed for me. And I can just kind of make high level decisions on a weekly or biweekly or monthly basis. Just kind of look at the sheets, the balance sheets, and just make those bigger chess moves rather than worry about the roof or the tenant or this or that or the other.
Well, we're getting better at that. I feel like, and you've helped me a lot with that. Where like, I think you saw me shoveling the sidewalk, or raking leaves or whatever out in front of a business one time. Like, that's a pretty, your hourly rate's pretty high for doing a task like that. So
we call it tripping over a dollar to pick up a dime.
Yeah.
You're trying to save a dime by doing some task yourself when there's businesses built to do that task. Your time is better spent where you make your money. So even if like shoveling the snow might only take you an hour, what did you really save?
Right.
$40?
What did it cost you is more of the thing.
If you would have devoted that 1 hour to anything that you make money on, you would have been 10x ahead of it.
You hear this with like landlords that might have like, 2 or 3 properties that they're mowing the lawns of their tenants or whatever.
Yep.
And I kind of like mowing the lawn. Well, cool. Cause come mow my lawn. Well, I don't like it that much. Well, of course, no one likes mowing a lawn. You don't do it because you love it. Otherwise you'd come mow my lawn for free.
Right.
If you love it that much, like if there's something I truly love and you ask me to go do it, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to find a way to make it happen.
Yep.
So you can't say that I actually kind of enjoy doing it. No, you don't.
No.
You're trying to save that penny. And for, maybe a landlord that has 2 or 3 properties and it's a weekend, thing, maybe that's the right decision. But if you're trying to really grow your business, that's the thing. You can't be focusing your time on tasks like that.
And you should be buying and factoring that expense in. Because when you are spending time on that, that means you're not spending time on something else. And that's the biggest thing. You should be spending time finding opportunities. We all should.
Yeah. If it's your goal to like I said, grow the business. But if you're just happy and content with your 2 rental properties,
you're probably not listening.
And that's fine. And that's totally fine.
Or your mom.
Or your mom. That's totally fine.
I get that. But like, to me, you should just factor those expenses in. And if it doesn't pay for itself, then you shouldn't buy that one. Move on and keep looking, spend the time. So you're not mowing lawns. And I have done that. We all have. I think if you're in real estate, you've done stuff that you don't want to do from time to time. Correct. But I think as the thing builds, and I'm looking 5 years down the road, it's going to be very different than it is right now. And it was very different 5 years ago. And it's going to continue to evolve and get bigger and better. But what this business offers is an opportunity to have a very passive income, because building it is what's the
There's nothing passive about it. Yeah.
right? What's the word that's opposite of passive? Aggressive.
Aggressive. I don't think that's the word, but
no, you're
active. It would be
yes, active. Thank you. That is the word. It's active as you're building it, because you can't afford to pay a property management company to manage your one duplex. It makes no sense. But when you have 30 of them, now it makes sense. And that's this business. It can give you cash flow on a monthly basis. It can give you freedom, and it gives you big piles of money via equity that you can tap into through a refinance or through a sale at any given time. Now that's slow money, right? That's why real estate is illiquid. Mm-hmm. But with proper planning, you can set those things up to be occurring every year and have those big paydays every year that are tax-free events. And even on a sale, let's say you've just kind of bored with a property or want to step it up, there are tax vehicles, the 1031 exchange, like that Monroe Plaza deal that we were talking about. If I decide I do want something twice that big, okay, I could sell it, take my profit and roll it into a bigger property and not pay property tax or not pay income tax,
right,
or capital gains tax, or depreciation recapture, or any of it.
Right. The idea is to defer it, and then hopefully eventually eliminate it. Right.
Defer it to death, and if, with proper estate planning, you can have that figured out too. And so when I start thinking about, and I in lieu of this episode, or leading up to this episode, I was looking at my I call it my global real estate portfolio spreadsheet. It's because it sounds cool, because it's global. They're all in Michigan.
Worldwide, yeah.
It's like Woodworth Worldwide. Yeah, everything's in Michigan right now. Although I have started looking in warmer climates. I am looking. I want to take that step, because I want something we can go visit
right about now
when it's cold in Michigan. But so I was looking at all of that, and it's like, man, from I mean, I don't want to seem braggadocious, but you and I, dude, like, I think of that house on McNeil, like, it was no bigger than this room. Like, we did not have shit.
Didn't have a shower.
It had a thing that hooked to the tub that you had to, like.
Yeah. It was
Luckily, neither one of us were as big as we are now, but it would have been even worse. Tiny house. No training whatsoever in this world. And we just had an eye to know something better existed. And we took the bull by the horns, right? In my portfolio now, it's with partners. I own so much alone. You and I own stuff. It's a mixed bag, but there's almost $40 million in real estate that I'm a part of in 14, 15 years from zero.
Yeah.
That is like amazing to me.
It is amazing.
And I don't think about it very often, because I'm always trying to find the next. But for the fact that I did that, and I'm not like, dude, not college educated, right?
Yeah. I tell Jill from time to time that, like, I'm a Wasso smart.
Yeah.
I'm kind of dumb, but I'm kind of smart. You know what I mean? Like,
listen, there's so much to know. You're never going to know it all. And that's, you know what I mean? So just like hone in on something. Hone in.
Well, so it's interesting, because this is also your full-time job. You're doing it for yourself. You're in it for other people. Like, you are 100% every day. You're focused on real estate. So like this guy that came in and met with you today, who's got a nice W-2 job, he wants to get started. Like, what do you think, from what you've seen, like some obstacles, or if I look at you as my motivation and inspiration, say, okay, I'm at zero today and I want $40 million of real estate in 15 years, but it's not my full-time job. Like, let's say I work wherever. Like, how do I make that a focus, and how can I take all of the steps necessary to accumulate that much?
So
it's kind of daunting, you know what I mean?
It does seem that way, and that's why it's for 15 years. You know what I mean? It's not 2 years, and that's what I was explaining to this guy this morning. Like, number one, you got time. because you're at home and you're scrolling. And if you just spend a little bit, even if it's a half an hour, if you spend a half hour every night looking for a real estate opportunity, you're going to find one.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't have to be your full-time job. My full-time job is not looking for real estate for myself. It crosses my desk, but I'm always trying to work out deals for other people. I've got, employees to manage. We've got, a guy that just got pulled over in a moving truck in Detroit today. Like, there's shit that's got to be dealt with in this business that I'm dealing with. So I'm not like in here 24/7 scouring the interwebs for deals for myself.
Yeah.
They happen and I take advantage of them. So the difference is I'm always ready to seize an opportunity when I see one. And I haven't seized all of them. I don't have enough money.
Right. Well, and like if you see an opportunity, you may not seize it personally, but then that's when you say, hey, client that's done 2 or 3 deals with you, like, here's an opportunity.
And to be honest, it's like I've had, because I am who I am, and my fiduciary responsibility is actually to my clients first. I've ended up in some deals because they have asked me to join them. Otherwise I wouldn't have been. Like, they were promoted and given to clients, and then I have ended up in them. A lot of what I've bought myself is the shit no one else would buy. Because
there's some truth to that, I guess. Yeah.
There's 100, dude. The best deals I have to show somebody else, because then how is that my reputation if oh, Randy, you never get anything from him because he just buys it himself. No,
well, I mean,
I need those people.
You may have that reputation right now, whether you do.
Well, I mean, but the people that work
matter. Yeah.
The people that work with me know better because they've gotten to take advantage.
Yeah, and I've taken advantage of some of those deals. So.
And I've said it, like, I say it all the time. I know this is a good deal because I want to buy it.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting across the table from a client. I'm like, I want this, but I told you I'd find this. Here it is. If you don't take it, I'm taking it. But I'm going to give that person that shot first. And there's been some big ones that oh man, no-brainer deals that I structure. I mean, beautiful structure, everything. And these guys are, made millions and millions of dollars on some of these deals. But I had to give it away. So that's probably what's going to change in the next decade is, I hand off the reins of the brokerage side of things to some of the other guys in the office. And then I can focus on them bringing me deals, and I'll just be treated like another client.
Yeah.
But right now, I think that number is 40. It could be 80 if I wasn't,
well, and if you weren't,
if I wasn't honest,
stuck with buying some of the stuff that nobody else wanted, because in some of those cases, it takes more time, it takes more work. You talk about buying right. Well, and there's plenty of situations where we haven't bought right, but it was something we wanted to do, not necessarily something that we should do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that, and it's the same thing though. You can't go broke making a profit. You can't look at those decisions and think it was a bad thing, because in the end, you're sitting at a portfolio that, how quickly and how much you've amassed, it is impressive. And I'm proud of you, bro. I think it's truly inspirational because, you mentioned that house on McNeil Street. Like, looking back at that, you're like, it's the whole nature versus nurture thing. Like, you have no business being in this position today, given where we came from.
Dude, do you remember Mom showed us that house and we both started crying?
Yeah.
Like, I was in 6th grade and you were,
I think you were maybe 8th grade. I was in 5th grade.
But we cried.
Yeah.
Like, we were not happy about having to move to that little piece of shit. Love you, Mom. Thank you for making a place.
She did what she had to do. I mean,
yeah.
But it was a $300 a month house.
Yeah.
And I remember when we moved out, they immediately took the rent up, and like, Mom told me the landlord felt sorry for us. Like, it was like, she knew that she was underpaying at $300 a month.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy how you just Mike Leslie actually set us up with that house.
Yeah.
He knew the landlord, and
Morel.
Yep. They all kind of felt sorry for us. So it's just
pitiful
crazy
people that we are.
Yeah.
Well, hey, from humble beginnings, here we go. And the next stop's 100 million. That's where I want to go. And then we'll adjust.
It's a moving target.
It's a moving target. We'll adjust it from there. Micah, did I hear you say we're at 25 minutes? We're at 30 minutes. So we're tired of talking about the poop and, the shitty side of this business. I wanted to just really talk about how much I enjoy it, how much of a blessing it's been to me and my brother, and how much more runway there is to go. I mean, the sky's the limits. I mean, sky is absolutely the limit in this business, and it can provide a life that you would never dream. But it takes action, and it takes getting started, and it takes getting your financial house in order first. I gave that boy this morning. I say boy, he's a young man. Gave that young man the Total Money Makeover book and Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I said, read this one first because they're contradictory.
They're big time contradictory.
But you can't go into Rich Dad Poor Dad in my mind without getting your financial house in order. That's why Total Money Makeover from Dave Ramsey is important. I think once you have that base set, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and you can take it to the next level. Whew. I didn't feel like I scratched the surface on what I want to talk about.
There's so many good things we can talk about. But.
We might do a continuation. So this episode 9, we may do a continuation, but thanks for tuning in. Subscribe if you're still listening. Subscribe, please. So we'll sit here. We're going to record another episode, but we don't know 100% what it's going to be, Jim. But
it's going to be awesome.
It is going to be awesome.
I hope. At least we think it is.
We know it is.